entrepreneurship, the tool for achieving transgenerational wealth. It's coming at a time that we know that is the best, it is apt, and it is the best time to have this in Nigeria of today. Well, I will attempt to define entrepreneurship. I will want to at least break it down, but beyond that is to say that irrespective of what you do, what you are, what works today is that you must aspire to be one. You must aspire to be an entrepreneur. And again, it is not only when you have a factory that you are an entrepreneur. It is not only when you do buy and selling that you are an entrepreneur. Some people are seated, putting their money where their mouth is, and they are making cool money. Some people invest in stocks, some people invest in so many other things. They are cool entrepreneurs. They make all this money and they actually enjoy it. Entrepreneurship is more, and it is more than starting a business. It's not just about starting a business. It is beyond starting a business. So many of us will be thinking, let me start my own business. Let me start my own business. Somebody just said, I worked in a place for 14 years. What was he doing for 14 years? He should have just started after NYC and stayed because he knew that he wanted to start his business. But there's always that time for everything. There's time for building. There's time for networking. There's time for preparing yourself. So it goes beyond starting a business. It's a process. It's a process. So in engineering, I said I'm a mechanical engineer. In engineering, when you say something is a process, it requires that to start at a spot, at a state of rest. Then maybe you take a step. It is a step. It's a process of taking that steps. And again, the most important thing is that you need to identify opportunities. Now, there are opportunities and there are opportunities. If it is clear that it's an opportunity, almost everybody will be there. But the real opportunity is the opportunity that appears like threats. So when you go for opportunity that looks like threats and you're able to spot it, your reward is always big. For example, when people started selling pure water in Nigeria, we just realized that immediately people saw opportunity in pure water business. Every Nigerian, everybody wants to start selling pure water, and it became a mere commodity. But the real opportunity will look like threats, will disguise like threats. So your foresight to be able to see that this is not just anyhow thing, just like gold, like diamond. If you see raw gold, it will go right inside. If you see diamond, to be covered by so many depths, but those who know, they still continue to dig until they finally find it. So, and again, the other thing about starting an entrepreneurship journey is also about the resources. We know that in Nigeria today, this is limiting. The resources is not available. The fund to start all of these things might not be available. Now, and you want to, the other thing that you must do is that you look at it, then you want to create value. So meaning that opportunity plus added resources, these resources might not be money. It could be your time, it could be your intelligence, it could be your knowledge. That is the value addition. Like for example, when we started exporting our products out of Nigeria, now we applied for a program called ETLS, ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. This scheme requires that you don't really need to be the owner of that product. But again, they'll be calculating, they'll be looking for the value addition, meaning that even if the product is imported, they look at the value you've added to that product. So once you've added value up to 30%, you can claim rights over that product. And for those who understand import and export, that's why you have different changes in HS code. So meaning that this today, if I'm able to add value, that something I have here, I can replicate it again, and they calculate the worth of the value addition is more than 30%, you can claim to say this is a new product. So you need to create value. Now, what problem are we trying to solve? It's about needs. It's not just that, okay, because everybody is wearing Ankara or they're wearing kaftan. Do we have need for it? So you want to work around it to create that need. You want to identify the opportunity, you want to meet a need. And that's why all of this, entrepreneurship generally requires an individual or group of people. But when I mean group of people, it means people of like minds. Because you might get things wrong when you now think you want to go into partnership when you've not even gotten it right with yourself. So it requires that you have the people with insight, with foresight, with vision, who are prepared. Those could be an individual with vision, with foresight, and those who are prepared to say, oh, this is what I need to do, and this is what we want to go into. And the next thing is knowledge. So you've seen an opportunity, you've identified your unmet needs. Now you've decided that, yes, myself alone, or I'll be going with a group of people, like minds, then who have the insight, the foresight, the vision, and who are prepared to get going and again, they must seek knowledge, because beyond everything, if you are not knowledgeable in any business venture, the failure is determined before it starts. That means you are failing. That means you can announce the mortality of that business before it actually starts, and you need resources. Now, when we talk about resources, now we're talking, it could be money, it could be people, it could be, some businesses, it's not only when you have the raw cash. You might have some people, once you're able to pitch well, you're able to discuss your ideas with them, they realize that you are there, they want to check how bankable. That idea is that this idea you presented, we can invest in it. Then you can be sure that people will pull resources. I remember it used to be Vitafoam Nigeria PLC, but about around 2024, it got to a stage that the thinkers, let me put it that way, the thinkers within the system realized that there are so many opportunities within the industry where we operate that are largely unmet, and we started coming up with different subsidiaries, and beyond us, we're thinking maybe we don't have the resources, but people of like minds start putting and pulling resources together to start a new business, meaning that you need the right people with foresight, with insight, with good knowledge, and with resources to get going. Then again, network, and maybe I should just decide not to talk about this network since we have a subject matter expert. The MD of 7up will be discussing network. When you have network, having good network might solve the problem of people. Having good network might even prepare you and can catalyze you for real action. Good network can resolve issue of around resources. So your network is your net worth. And again, with all of this, you own a business, you add value to the owners, you add value to the employees, you add value to customers. Let me say that entrepreneurship is not a CSR program. It is for profit. Entrepreneurship is for you to make money. It is not for you to give back. You see, it's only when people have made good money that they now start talking about Dangote Foundation, after Babalola days, that. You must make money first. So the entrepreneurship we are talking about here and the entrepreneurs we are talking about are those who want to make money. So when you make money, then you might not be talking about giving back. So now, who is an entrepreneur? I will not waste time. I hope you know that Dr. Omonijo is also a subject matter expert. So even in preparing, I had him in mind. So as entrepreneur, that person who is a risk taker, someone who takes risk, starting a new business venture, that person who can aggregate capital. You may not have that resources. Your network can actually assist you to pull the resources together. So you need to aggregate. You see, when I put in red, it means it is a danger zone. Let me put it that way. It is not a comfort zone. Now you need to aggregate capital and labor. I realized in a very difficult way to say that even if you have a twin and you put them under the same roof as employees, the two of them will behave differently. And that's why they said that the greatest asset any organization will have is the people. Processes might be the same, technologies might be the same, and you can acquire, but when it comes to people, when it comes to getting people, the way you relate with Ola will be different from the way you relate with Titi, will be different from the way you relate with another person. So that's why I have that label in red, that it is not also very easy, but you need to get it right. To produce goods or services for profit. Profit is sweet. Profit is sweet. So, an entrepreneurship is an important driver of economic growth. We must not forget what we're discussing. It's entrepreneurship as a tool for transgenerational wealth. So, we're not talking about being wealthy here, because I got that very clearly. That we're not talking about you being okay. We're saying that you being okay to the extent that you're able to even transfer that wealth. And I checked all through. The only thing one can engage in, whether in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, is to be an entrepreneur. Those who have been able to transfer wealth are renowned entrepreneurs. So it is a major, it's not a question, it is like a question that has been answered in the face of even the booklets. So that you need to, for you to transfer it, then the risk is not small to an entrepreneur. I met Mr. Ziyad, we were just talking. The first thing that came to mind, what about the forwards? What is the CBN saying? Have you been able to resolve yours? And I saw that he was happy. His own has been resolved 99%. Mine has only been resolved about 82%. So that is to say that, see, the risk of starting a new business is not small. It is a high risk. However, if it is well done, if it is well articulated, and if you put it right, the reward can be very, very high as well. And you can use it to generate wealth. Not only wealth for yourself, but wealth that is transferable. Wealth that you can pass to first generation, to second generation, to third generation. To be a successful entrepreneur, you must be ready to execute without excuse. It's about execution without excuse. And you must be ready to ask as many questions. Why? What? Who? When? How? Because you need to know, what am I going into? You must ask that question. You might not have all the answers. It could be 70% answered, but you must answer it reasonably. You must also answer the question of how. You should be able to answer the question of why. You should be able to answer that question of when. That, okay, I'll put the resources together. I need to go to Lagos Business School to acquire knowledge. I need to do A, B, C, D. So you will now determine when is it the right time for me to launch out. You ask all these questions. It's not limited to what, how, why, who, when. You can ask as many questions as you may desire. Entrepreneurship answers all these questions. Must answer all the questions before you venture. But please, the caveat here is that it is not a must that all the answers must be 100% before you venture. But ask some questions, provide some answers, then you can launch out. I'm even saying that it's also not practical that you must have all the 100% of answers before you launch out. It's not workable anyway. So it involves taking action because the mindset is that I want to go into this business venture not as a CSR, but as a venture to do what? To make money. So the common factor with entrepreneurship is money making. I think it's important that we highlight that when you talk about entrepreneurship, it's about making money. Now we are taking it beyond making money. We are now talking about making money that is transferable, making money that you can pass to another generation, making money that generation can pass to some other generation. So again, it is also about solving problems. You know, when we came, we were just discussing, and Mr. Ziyad was like, okay, I have my laptop here, but but again, my presentation will be busy. And people ran around, were like, okay, how do we do it? Immediately people start thinking, how do we resolve the problem of a rich man that does not use Windows 10 or Windows 8, that want a canvas and want, but the guys there, they were able to come around him, and that problem is being resolved. So it's about creating problem. I'm sure once they are able to resolve that problem, it becomes part and parcel of them. They might even start a business telling them that forget it. If you like, bring a pen and let your presentation be in a pen. We'll project it. That is creating and attempting to solve problems. It's about solving problem every day. It brings good people together in one way or the other. It brings good people together, and in attempts to do what no one has ever done. See, if you seek to be an entrepreneur and you want to just add value, somebody has taken it to this point. You want to take it from here to that. In supply chain, let me put it that way, we call it you are adding value, because I've taken 2 steps. You want to take it from 2 to 3. But again, when you do what nobody has ever done, you are starting it all over. The risk is higher, but the reward is higher. It is called only produced. only produced because nobody has produced it before. You can own, you have the rights, you have the patent to it, and you can make much more money about what you seek to do, what no one has ever done. It involves meeting the needs and bridging gaps. You just see that it's been difficult. So I want to move from here to that place. There is a gap between this, but somebody will just come and say, don't worry, we'll come up with a solution that will still not block this place. It's only once you raise your leg, one sensor will bring out a platform. As you jump on it, the other one will go. Once your leg is not on the platform, it goes down for people to move. So that is solving problems. So when you do things like this, you know that you are bridging gaps. Then again, there are some ideas. Everyone here, right from when you were in school, maybe I should, you know, when I went to my secondary school, it was just one excursion that changed my orientation about life. Everybody, everything around me was like, you must study medicine, you must do this, you must do that. But I only made one visit to Coca-Cola. And when I saw the way they were canning things, the way they were, and you see conveyors moving, I saw that process, the process talking to my head, and I called somebody that if I want to work in this kind of environment, what do I do? And the person said, maybe you go and study industrial chemistry or you study chemical engineering. I left in SS2, I went back to school. I said chemical engineering, and that was what brought about. So it is about what we see. It is how you internalize it, how you process it, that will lead you to where you desire and you want to go. So it's all about coming up to execute some of those ideas. There's nobody here that does not have one idea that is sitting there that has not been executed. The fear of failure has actually made many of us not to fulfill purpose. You'll be thinking, what if I venture? What if I resign? What if I resign? Like Dr. Moni just said, he worked in the system. He was not asked to go. But at some point, he got to a stage, he resigned. And today, he's richer. He's richer. Some of us are still employees. He's richer. So, you know, we know. So it's about getting all of these things done. It's about execution of ideas. Those ideas that you have, attempt, venture, launch out. Use anything for it. Just start. And again, there's nothing like failing. There's nothing like failing. What has actually changed or shaped my career the highest are the moments that I did not do well. At some point, when some people will look at me and say maybe the super manager but I realize that it's not that one is a super manager, a good manager. What projects one as a super manager is the inefficiency of people that you work with. Because if you're 5, this person gives 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, and you're only doing 55%. 55% is not a good grade, but you are the best. You understand it? So meaning that amidst peers, amidst people, if you're able to launch out a little higher than your peers, you will be a good person. So with entrepreneurship, if all those ideas that people are still brooding, people are still thinking whether we should do it, while people are waiting, please launch out. I expect that some of us will be putting out some of these buzzwords. I think I've used the word buzz out about maybe 7, 8, or 10 times. It means that people must launch out. We must launch out whenever it comes. So it's also about, when you think about all of this, you now come up with the strategy, that the strategy to execute without failing. The strategy to execute without failing. And if you execute without excuse, the summation of all of this will be what? A business success. So let me not deceive you. I am not saying that starting as an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship does not have its own recurrent crisis. Yes, it is laden with all those bottlenecks, with all the crises. You know, look at all the ideas, over maybe about 20 ideas that you have in your head. But by the time you put all these ideas in the bottle, the struggle, survival of the fittest, like they taught us in biology, the struggle, all of those ideas will be conflicting with the other one. The struggle, it's only one. And you know that the one that is launched out will also prevent the one coming from going out. So that is how. So it is not that it is a roller coaster or it's a tea party. Entrepreneurship is a big and it's a serious business. It's a serious business. It is not very easy. There might be so many problems depending on how you want to see it. fundraising it might be a challenge. Some people will have big ideas, but they get limited. The ideas will die in them only at the point of thinking, how do I fund it? They just think about it. How do I fund it? So many crises. Some of them will now say, I think I should do this, I should do that, but I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the knowledge. Some might even think, how do I even keep up with technology? Where is Kodak? What has happened to NIPOST? You know, as when you are still waiting, some people, when they came with a mainframe computer, they came with all the things. People are not even interested in computer. Before, when you have a manager, you didn't buy him laptop. It will be as if you have not done well. But some young guys now are even saying, don't give me laptop. At least it happened today. We asked the MD of 7up, let's have your laptop, so that we say, no, I use Canva. I said, oh, so meaning that things are changing. You need to keep up with technology, and technology can be limiting. You've been using the last 5 years to write a business plan, only at the point of execution to realize that the business has moved. You know that somebody told us a story recently. You know bunk beds, all those who went to boarding houses, you know bunk beds, you know the mesh at the heart of it. Mama T knows better. That mesh requires high expertise, and it got to a stage that in the whole of Bono and maybe in the whole of Nigeria, it was remaining only one person who has the expertise to use the mesh. You remember the bunk beds with that mesh that would be bouncing like this, but it got to a stage that it was only one person in Nigeria that understood how to do that thing. Immediately the man died, that technology died. And that's why you see mesh today. What do? They put steel over steel, they weld it. They just try as much as they can to improvise. But knowledge is key. Knowledge is even money. Knowledge is money. And you must keep up with technology at every point in time. The people problem, I really don't know. Maybe Mrs. Bakare will be allowed sometime. People problem in every business is a major problem. But most times we underrate it, thinking that once you get the fund, you know what you want to do, you have the technology, don't worry, I will get the people. Maybe you start with the people before thinking about all those. People problem is a major problem in every business venture. When you don't get it right, when you don't get the people problem right, all the good ideas will just go into limbo. So it's important that we address all of these things. Now we're talking about not just ordinary wealth, but wealth that is transferable. Transgenerational wealth. How about this? Now, I don't know, maybe I should say, who can we say this tall man is in Nigeria? Can we, that man that wants to breathe the breath of life on all these small kids, who can we say that person is in Nigeria? Anybody? That person, Thank you, sir. God bless you. So we can say this man is the Dangote of today, that he just decides that we kind of wealth he has amassed, that see, once he breathes the breath of life, people, wealthy people, billionaires are created. Like recently he was interviewed and he said he does not have any house outside of Nigeria, but he's aware that people that he employed, many of them have houses outside of Nigeria. That is the type of thing we're talking about, that you are not only wealthy, but you can transfer wealth. So it means having maybe assets that you can pass from one family to the other. Something that you own, you have used, you are no longer, you think when you die, you pass it to another person. Maybe it could be an investment, it could be stocks, it could be maybe a factory, anything. And again, it means transferring of business. You pass it down from one generation to another generation to safeguard. You know, there's a way my dad used to tell us that all he's trying to do, that he as a farmer, that what he's trying to do is to see whether he can stop poverty in his lineage, that he will do everything to train all of you. So maybe poverty will stop. So it's like somebody trying to transfer the little he has to see whether he can grow the next set of people who will be able to terminate and stop poverty in a family. So more like it, that is what we're talking about when we talk about transgenerational wealth. Creating generational wealth helps to break the cycle of poverty. Almost everybody, imagine, is it not an irony? Those who are very rich, they are not even ready to have many children. But the poor will tell you I have 5. I have 6, I have 7. But the rich, they will tell you I have 2 children. Some 1. Some were even begging them. If Dangote wants to help Nigeria, he should go and have 500 now. Because he has the money to take care of them and make all of them wealthy. But again, we need to get all of these things right. We need to do everything. Entrepreneurship helps to break the cycle of poverty. And again, statistics has it. You know, this is very funny. A very poor person, like I gave an example of my dad, a very poor person will do everything to pass wealth and to make sure that the children are bigger. That's the first generation. First generation will now do it's a funny cycle, a vicious cycle. This will work so hard, pass well to the second generation, but the second generation will do everything to destroy that wealth. Those people will be poor again. They start all over. You begin to think, why is it that it's not been easy to pass wealth from first generation to the third? Some will be so rich. By the time you move on, you see those who have been very rich, but today they have started from where somewhere 100 years ago. So it's a very funny cycle, saying that statistics indicate that it is highly likely for first generation wealth to be significantly eroded. First generation, by the time it is in the hand of the third generation, a trend that will continue into the future if you continue to repeat the same mistakes. You will be poor, you do everything to get rich, you transfer that wealth to your children, but you will do everything to destroy all that you have done so that you continue that poverty cycle. More like this, you must ask all the questions. How? You want to create generational wealth. How do you do it? How do you get it done? It is not enough to ask how once. Maybe you ask it 1 million times for you to be able to get there. You might need, so to create this wealth, the first step, you need to understand that this process is continuous. You can't just think about a business, you launch out, then you retreat. No, it requires continuous. When you plant a seed, you have to water it continuously for it to grow, for it to germinate rightly. It requires that you get all of these things done. It is not a one-time achievement. Transgenerational wealth is even taking the shine of the rich, because they are saying that you are not a rich man until you are able to transfer that wealth to people, to generation after you. Because that is what this is talking about. That the kind of wealth that you can transfer to another generation, that is what is meant by transgenerational wealth. It requires dedication. It requires very high level of discipline, and it is not short term. The problem with some of us youth now is that we want to plant, we don't want to. You can see that many people don't engage even in agriculture. They don't want to plant cocoa, they don't want to plant kola nuts, because they know that it takes years before you start reaping. You now see them going around maize, they put it in March. By June, because we don't have the endurance. If it is short term, your reward is also what? Short term. If you plan a business that is going to grow long term, the reward is also going to be long lasting. So it is not a one-time achievement. It requires dedication. It requires good understanding of how money works. Some of us, we think we know how to do it. You need very good knowledge of how money works, financial intelligence. Some people will stay, some people will sit. I saw a friend of mine had little fund, and he went to buy about 5 keke and gave it to people. He has 2, but in less than 2 years, all went down the drain. Because you think that, okay, any business, say you should put your money where your mouth is. That is another training about knowing how money works. You might, if you are busy, you are working and you don't have all the time, you have to take low risk, minimal risk, but make sure that your fund is guaranteed. Even if you don't have returns, let your capital not be eroded. So it is, you must seek knowledge around financial intelligence, how money works. Education is key. You don't know it all. He said the anointing of yesterday is not good enough for the kind of work that is needed today. So you'll be thinking that, what I know yesterday will be sufficient. No, you need to keep improving. Continuous improvement is the rule. Continuous improvement is the rule. It requires understanding. It requires that you must educate yourself about budgeting, savings. That's about financial intelligence. And again, for that legacy to last, commitment and hard work is required. That's the only way you can have it a germinated seed. Can you see laden with coins or money, and it's being transferred to another generation? It's only when you can fulfill all of this that you can achieve what is called. But again, there are drivers. There are basic drivers to create wealth. You must entrepreneurs, they play serious role to accumulate wealth. But the last one, there's one successful entrepreneur leading to an increase in their personal wealth and transferable wealth. When you do your own very well, when you execute entrepreneurship the right way, then you can rest assured that yes, you can transfer it. Then again, look at this Jeff Bezos. Almost every time he's been abused, or you see it on social media, this one will say you are not doing well, you did that. But again, that guy was able to get Amazon. Today, all businesses now, even some of us, hello. So you realize that some of us, even businesses that are bulky, we are now thinking about how can we make it. People are no longer in the past. We used to take supply chain as a support structure, that once you produce and you have the finance team and you have this, you have that. But again now, you have not done well until the customer says that we have received it. So, and that is the problem he saw, that some people will think we know how to produce this. Some people will say we have the expertise to do this. They have the, but again, how do you get the final products to the consumers? It was the need that Bezos saw, and he created Amazon to aggregate. He's not producing anything. He will collect my product, collect this product, collect that product, and he will put a value that even the owner is not getting. He will sell it at a margin that the manufacturer is not getting, and he's making all the money. So it's about meeting needs. It's about bridging gaps. So to be able to accumulate wealth, you have to do what no one else has done. Then again, beyond accumulating it, you want to now distribute it. In distributing wealth, you have to grow it. You have to do a whole lot. Then again, look at manufacturers. Look at what Dangote did with Obajana cement. Obajana was just in a remote area, nobody knew. But with that investment in Obajana, so many millionaires, you can see the value chain along what he does in Obajana. You can think about it. You create wealth for the community, you create wealth for the people, and again, you can stimulate local economies. There was a time Kogi state government was having an issue with Dangote cement. It was the people that they were going to government house to protest. That's it. Dangote is not the one suffering. We are the ones suffering. So in the interest of the people, that issue was resolved. So please, it's important that we take note of all of this. It's also about you achieving financial independence. It is not every time you need 20 naira, or let me say 20,000, because if I say 20 naira, some of you say, what is 20 naira in Nigeria of today? Maybe you need 20,000. Now you now call your uncle, sir, I want to do something. I already have 15,000. I only need 5,000. Why don't you have 20,000? Meaning that it is not whether you are asking for 5,000 to make up 20,000, you are still begging. You are still begging, and it is also one of the reasons why some people don't even make it. Because if you are the only rich man amidst so many, you'll be perpetually poor. I invite her from. I had the opportunity of working outside of Nigeria for a while. I realized that it was the period that I saved the best, because people didn't even know whether I was just a production manager, this or that. They didn't know. But immediately I came back to Nigeria, and they got to know that, oh, he's the head of this department, is this. At times when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to see my phone. Those messages should be there before I wake up. And that continues to create people that will never be wealthy. Because from the little you have, for you to launch out and be somebody, you have to share it across, and our culture also allows that. Now, you have access to direct resources and support. This is very important. When you are made, you realize that, like Dr. Moni just said, that anytime he wants to come to some places, he doesn't knock door. Truly, he doesn't. Anytime he comes to my office, I'll say, sit down. I'll be looking for coffee or whatever I need to quickly, please, let's take something. But some people they have all it takes. They want to solve problem for a particular organization, but they will not have the access to even come in. I give you a very good example. When I knew that I've been well trained, that I know how to do this job, I came with my CV. Mrs. Bakari. I came with my CV. I gave the security advisor form. My uncle also collected it and gave it. They didn't allow that CV to get to Mrs. Bakari. It was 2 years after that God maybe I just met one of the top ogas in one of the functions, and we now discuss. He said, oh, you know all this, please come, so meaning that access is very good, even beyond knowledge. Network, the subject matter expert will discuss it. If you don't have the right network, that's why if you are a child of the rich, probability that your discussions will be with the rich is very high, very, very high. If you don't have access, you don't, even things you know will die right in your head. They will not just, nobody will be there. And that's why I advise the young ones, if you must leave university, make sure that you don't leave university below 2-1. The end of the beginning starts once you leave university below second class upper, because nobody, you might be very good, you may know it all, but nobody will, they won't even shortlist you. 2 years ago we wanted to employ some people, some graduate trainees, so we needed just 10, but in less than 2 weeks over 2,000 Nigerians have applied. So we now have to use computer system. People with so out, people with so out, people with so out, so begin to use. So if you don't have opportunity to be asked what do you know, it's also a big problem. So you must help yourself first before people will help you. My time is running out, but again, when you talk about FOBs, family-owned businesses that have done well in Nigeria, you'll be seeing names like this. You see, and even beyond Nigeria, you see that some family, because when we're talking about entrepreneurship and passing the wealth, we're talking about family-owned businesses that you might now need to formalize later. You'll be talking about this, without writing the names. You can relate with all of these numbers. You can relate with it. These are all family businesses, but they get them structured to the point that it's now bigger than the family that actually started them. So look at this Aliko Dangote story. You might, because of our time, you look at it, yes, his father a trader, relatively rich, but again, Dangote today sits as the richest man in Africa. He built his fortune from not just all the businesses. It was the Dangote cement that gave him money. Do you know that in 7 years, I like to use Vitafoam. In 7 years, Dangote cement had paid out 1 trillion naira between 2013 and 2019. 1 trillion naira in dividends. Maybe you know as well that Dangote owns 78% of the shareholdings. 78% of 1 trillion. That means the guy has made 780 billion. Not the money he made from the business. It is the dividends. They will declare dividends 1 kobo, 10 kobo, 20 kobo. But in 7 years, he collected cash. Because I know when it is time to pay dividends, you don't pay it with promissory notes. You pay it with cash. So in 7 years, because he has 78% of Dangote cement, he has collected 780. It will interest you that last year, dividends to Dangote alone, on Dangote cement, I'm not talking about salt, I'm not talking about every other thing, Dangote made 292 billion. All of these are in the paper. 292 billion only from, that is the wealth that is transferable. It's the type of wealth that we're talking about. And again, records has it that all the children were trained abroad. All the children, the 4 of them, well trained. They have the best education and they all have stake in that business. Even before he dies, he's already transferring wealth. So this is a very good example of transgenerational wealth transfer. So you see from nairametrics that between 2013 and 2019, you can see collected 50 million in 2013, collected 100 million in 2014, a little low, and as at 2019 it was already over 250 billion. Sorry, I'm talking about billions in dividends alone. That's what. But again, beyond Dangote, you can relate with all these faces. You see Dangote, you see ALUMNI, you see the Boa Cement Man, you see Otedola. All of these people in 2022, they collected 506 billion. So at times when I look at it, I say, why are people still working? If somebody will not even work alone from dividends, the Boa Cement collected 166 billion in 2022. Can you see? So the paper carried it. It became a big news. I think I had to put it in nairametrics. They said only 11 billionaires in Nigeria collected 506 billion in dividends. So that is building a wealth that is sustainable, a wealth that is transferable. That is like what you need to know. But again, still in the same Nigeria, somebody will say, what about the lessons from MKO? He was rich, he was the richest in Nigeria at some point. But again, what about, has he been able to transfer wealth? Another paper picked it, and this is all they could say. As of 2018, they said 20 years after, the 43 children are still what? Fighting. Add 6 years to 20. That means 26 years. I don't know you answer it, whether they have stopped fighting. But again, we just discussed an individual and another individual. So that is how to understand transgenerational wealth transfer. But again, there are other family-owned businesses. I'm rushing because I can see that my time is up. So I do this very fast. You can see family-owned businesses can be complex. You know why? We say family-owned business. The two major problems there are two problems there. You are talking about family and you are talking about business. Family and business are not the same thing. Family is largely informal relationship. Business requires some formalities. So family system is emotional. Oh, now my brother, oh, I cannot do without him. So, but business is unemotional. Entry into a family is what? Is by birth, and it is permanent. Even when you have a brother that is not doing well, he's still your brother. And when the man wants to transfer wealth, he's transferring to all of you. So once you have one bad ex in the entire family, the wealth will not be transferable, will not be sustainable. So these are all of the things. Successful businesses, you can see 90% of US businesses started as 90% of US businesses and 30% of Fortune 500 firms started as FOBs, family business, started as family-owned businesses. Survival rate is very low, only 33%. But look at this. According to this, if you look at that, you see, the first generation, they do what? They create wealth. The second, they inherit it because they'll be waiting. That's my father. That's my father's money. They will inherit it. And the third generation, what they do? They destroy it. So we call it from rags to riches and from riches back to rags. That is how some of these things work. The problem, founders fair, limitations, all of these things. I'll share these slides with the team so that we can all have it. We have some FOBs in Nigeria, family-owned businesses that have failed. The Abiola Group, the Oditola Brothers, the Nwanko Groups, some of these businesses. But the way forward, there is a book I read about entrepreneurship in a changing environment. They proposed this LIQS, they call it limited, institutionalized, quoted and social cost. It is only when you're able to drive it along this path that you can build a business that you can transfer. Maybe I'll you see all of this, use all of this and the business that they can actually and truly transfer. Why do many of these people fail? Misalignment with the goal. Even when you transfer it, some will say give me the money. Another person will say, let us run the business together. So many of these businesses will fail. No cohesion, no connection. Some, they have entitlement mentalities, our father's business. That is why some people are still getting houses to buy in Ikeja. Because as soon as the owner dies, they will fight to the extent that they will now sell the house to somebody who is rich. All of them will move to one bush. Because they will not be able to manage their estate. That is why you still see land. People are still buying. Because the owner will die, the people will disagree. And they say the way forward is to sell. So you see all of this. If you see all these businesses above, they are family-owned businesses in Nigeria. Dangote, FCMB, Zenith, UBA, Champs, Fitson, all of this. Some are quoted, some are listed on the stock exchange, and some are still doing well, even without being listed. Like Capital Oil, Obas, Global Fleet, Doing Group, Elizade. These businesses are not listed, but they are doing relatively well. The big question is it in all cases? Now, somebody can be very, very rich and the wealth will still not be transferable. Because I read that it is possible that you are very rich and you will not be able to transfer wealth. Now, the question I have asked here is that, is it in all cases that founders want transgenerational survival of their business? That this business you are owning, do you think that a father will say, I have this big business, but I want it to go beyond me? The answer is no. Some people have businesses, they don't want the name to go beyond them. I just give us one example, and a Nigerian example. Look at this. you know Gani Fawemi? Gani Fawemi's business chamber was very big, doing very well. But in his will, he wrote that as soon as he dies, within 2 years, they should wind down Gani Fawemi chamber. That he doesn't want to, whether his spirit or his soul, or that 2 years after he's dead, that there should not be anything about that chamber. Meaning that you might be very rich, you can have a big business, but you still don't have the mind that you want to transfer that wealth or the business. So he had a good business, successful chamber. I was to write law chamber, well managed, good employees, good brand. The chamber died because the founder willed that it should be wound down within 2 years of his death. It should be wound down. He died in April 2008 and they wound it down in January 2011. That's why you don't hear about Gani Fawemi chamber. So it is possible that you be very rich, you have a big business, and yet it will not go beyond you. But look at this. This framework is important. It's only saying that for you to have a business that can go beyond you, make sure it is registered. Some people will just be doing business with mouth. They don't have it. Make sure it is legal. You can sue people. People can sue you. Have a legal business. The next one is institutionalize it. Don't say because you are the owner, you must be the MD. Because you are the owner, you must be the production manager. Because you are the owner, you must be. Put people together, institutionalize it, and allow people to run it properly. I have looked around. I don't know so many of these people, but I think it's only Dangote that has succeeded in doing this. So that you can say now businesses that will have ISO certification, SOP, corporate governance framework, and they have all of these things done. If you can, another way to make sure that the name goes beyond you is to get it listed. Don't be selfish. You have made all the money, but you can still list it and let some people buy into it. As you are getting tired, some people will be praying that the business continues. So in all, the mindset of an entrepreneur is important. And again, what do you need? You need leadership. The function of leadership is to produce more leaders. Attitude is a little thing that makes all the difference. If you think you can, then you can. Then if you think you can't, you are very right. Once you think you cannot do it, you are correct. You can't do it because it's coming from you. So in all, please note, you can note all of these things. The energy of the mind is the essence of life. Positive thoughts and actions create positive feelings. Just a nugget for us to thank you, and thank you very much.